Hello, I'm Janine Seitetsu Larsen, one of the senior Dharma teachers with Moon Zen Sanghas and resident priest of the Bright Cloud Zen practice groups in Seattle and Woodinville, Washington. There's a great deal of benefit in studying Zen, I've found, learning the teachings of the Buddha and the great teachers handed down over the centuries, hearing the many tales that illustrate the simplicity and subtlety of the Great Way, memorizing the sutras and koans and chants in the ancient languages and translations, both literal and artful, that speak to us today. There are so many books, volumes, and collections of discourse and commentary, so many recordings, articles, podcasts, and interviews, and these days, a full worldwide web of Dharma talks, conferences, workshops, and convocations presented and available live online in every waking moment, it seems. It's a treasure trove, to be sure, of collected and unfolding knowledge, a wealth of scholarship, lifetimes of deep dives, so much to read, hear, absorb, memorize, watch, retain. How delicious it would be to close the door and read for the rest of the day, or maybe for years, to enter a university or monastery and live simply, devoted to study. I am filled with gratitude for those teachers and students who have done exactly that. Through their efforts, libraries are filled with resources for us. Because of the generosity of so many, we may inherit these teachings at the touch of a keyboard, the loan of a friend, by purchase from a local or distant store, or by making visits to places of education and training. And yet, all the books and Dharma talks and lessons in the world are not enough. It will do you no good to acquire knowledge about Zen unless you are able to transform it into wisdom. This requires the flash, or at least the tiny seed, of insight, and even that is not enough to make meaning. Here is where practice comes in, and by that, I mean the practice of your life. You must learn to open yourself as the book, and your life itself as the way to let the ink come forward and be illumined. The knowledge is waiting there like a gift, but we must be ready to receive it. It is like the song of the jeweled mirror. A baby babbles, but is anything said or not? In the end, it says nothing, for the words are not yet right. We need to build the muscles and sharpen our capacity for focus and awareness. That's the purpose of Zen practice, to help us be ready to recognize the spark of insight and to have the tinder right there, ready to catch it. A steady practice builds the patience to shelter this spark and the skill to provide just enough breath to encourage it to grow into a flame of realization. This may feel like magic, but it's really the science of prepared conditions. Or, as some Zen master has pointed out, enlightenment is an accident, but practice makes you accident prone. So, I'm grateful for all the knowledge that so many scholars have compiled, and I am working hard to uncover the tinder of my own Buddha nature, that wisdom might catch fire. One of the exercises I use regularly is practicing with the three treasures, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. First, it's necessary to unpack these words so that the triple gem can shine authentically and intimately. The Buddha represents the teacher. While this certainly points to the Buddha, whose image shows up on altars and as sacred art, and may seem remote, perfect, and implausible, why stop there? Teachers in our lives come in all shapes, shades, and degrees. My favorite way to think of teachers and to help me see and dare to be one is from a newsletter article by Ko-Un Franz when he was a resident priest of the Anchorage Zen community. He wrote then, A teacher is someone who is just a few steps ahead of you on the path. The Dharma for me is simply the teachings, the way of truth. It is all around us, always present, always beckoning, and not separate from this moment, this being. The Sangha is the community of spiritual support. It's our mutually acceptable learning community, there for us and requiring us to be present to everyone else too. It's honest and messy, a rare blessing and sometimes maddeningly human. The Upada Sutra tells us that the Buddha corrected his attendant and cousin Ananda when he said, This is half of the holy life, Lord. Admirable friendship, admirable companionship, admirable camaraderie. And the Buddha replied, Don't say that, Ananda, don't say that. Admirable friendship, admirable companionship, admirable camaraderie is actually the whole of the holy life. When a monk has admirable people as friends, companions, and comrades, she can be expected to develop and pursue the Noble Eightfold Path. In our bright cloud sitting groups, we tend to use a form of the refuge vows taught by Thich Nhat Hanh. I take refuge in the Buddha takes refuge in me. I take refuge in the Dharma takes refuge in me. I take refuge in the Sangha takes refuge in me. This reminds me that taking refuge is a reciprocal relationship. Finding myself in the teacher, I am the hands, voice, and body of the Buddha. Finding myself in the way, I am the hands, voice, and body of the Dharma. Finding myself in the community, I am the hands, voice, and body of the Sangha. The gifts and promises of Zen are only lived out through our practice. The Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha fully depend on each one of us to keep Zen alive. To practice with the Triple Jewel, here is what I sit with. Where do I see or experience the Buddha in my life right now? Who are my teachers, living or no longer living? Who do I admire because they seem to have it all figured out, or at least better than I do? Who vexes me and points out things I don't admire in myself? Who is struggling, and what do they require of me? Who is reminding me of my privilege and to check it? Who loves me anyway? Who wants the best for me? Who teaches me compassion? Who has forgiven me? Some of the answers that come up frequently for me are my kids, my spouse, my childhood family, and all the misery, love, and grieving that will always be in my heart, my parents, both long dead now, my 4th and 5th grade teacher, people I've wronged, my Zen teachers and their teachers and lineage, Mary the dog. I bring each of these beings into sharp focus and breathe them for a good long while. I carry them around with me silently for a day or more. Sometimes I just remember and cry or smile or laugh. I try to forgive them and myself. I bask in the love, tender gratitude. Where do I recognize the Dharma in my life right now? What is right under my feet, and where am I going? What is my intention? How am I feeling right now? Where in my body is that? What am I avoiding? What lessons am I learning, or at least aware of? Am I being honest with myself, with others? Some of the answers that come up frequently for me are, here is the Dharma in my robes in Raksu. Moments of grace, the indescribable beauty and wonder in the natural world. Horror and grief, so many emotions, fear, pain and ecstasy, boredom and impatience, shame, hope, acceptance. I bring each of these senses into sharp focus and feel them without trying to change anything. Sometimes I journal afterwards. Maybe I make some changes. Maybe I notice that I am not making some changes. I start again and again and again, right where I am. Who is my Sangha right now? Who loves me? Who needs me? To whom am I accountable? Who has my back? Who has let me down? Who offers me comfort? Who are my companions? Who forgives me over and over? Who would I like to get rid of but can't? Who is missing? Who am I forgetting? How am I honoring what is? I bring each of these beings into sharp focus and really sit with them. I imagine them sitting all around me. We breathe together for a good long while. If I'm heading into a difficult situation, I bring them all with me. If I'm cranky and irritated or despairing and lonely, I sit with them until I'm not. Sometimes you hang out with me for days. What I love about this practice is that it reminds me that I and the world are whole and complete, just the way we are, lacking nothing. It gets me out of judgment mind. It brings me back to gratitude and compassion. It reminds me that I can be content. Invariably, what comes up for me is the line from our meal chant at Sesshin. May we, with all beings, realize the emptiness of the three wheels, giver, receiver, and gift. At this point, our three bowls are tied up in a cloth bundle, and after this line is spoken, we raise our bowl bundle up to the forehead, bowing slightly. Then we put the bowls down, unwrap them, and set them out to receive food. I love this ritual of wholeness, with the bound-up bundle and its three bowls nestled inside each other. We eat, and the bowls are cleaned at the table as we sit together in silence, then all packed up again. There is no need for a giver without a receiver, nothing to be received without a giver, and this is the gift. Nothing is separate. We are inextricably bound in mystery and in miracle. I take refuge in the Buddha Buddha takes refuge in me. I take refuge in the Dharma takes refuge in me. I take refuge in the Sangha takes refuge in me. Thank you.